All right, hello. Thanks for watching. This is the Ben Woods flamenco technique video. We're gonna have picado, tremolo, arpeggio, alzapua, rasgueados, strumming, nail care, and restringing your guitar. By the way, if any of this stuff is going a little too fast, feel free to pause and rewind and watch again, rewind and watch again, rewind and watch again. But also in YouTube, we have this nice luxury. There's a gear icon down there, and you can
slow this video down to 75% or even 50%
without changing the pitch of the audio. Let's go on to the next video. Picado. It's just these two guys, okay? Index and middle. We want to do rest strokes. I'm just going to use E minor for most of these technique exercises here. Rest strokes on the high E string. I usually start with my middle finger, alternating. Okay, so you're going to want to get out your metronome. And we're gonna do every string, we're gonna do 4 notes per string like this, alternating between middle and index. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. And back up. You'll notice I kind of use my thumb as an anchor on this lower E string until I get down to the bass notes, then it just has to kind of float along. 3 notes per string. Let's do the same thing. Okay, this you want to practice with a metronome. Click, click, nice and slow and methodical. I also practice doing it hard and staccato, like, or soft. Another thing I want to address is what we call a slip finger technique. Now that's when you alternate mostly, except for when you change strings, like when we're going down to a lower string, you slip the finger down instead of going to the alternate finger. What I mean is, if we do 3 notes per string and start on the middle finger, I'm going to slip that middle finger down to the next string. 1, 2, 3, slip, slip. Okay, here's a little secret for speed. We don't want to make these big arcs. We want to use economy of motion. Okay, so my little secret is I try and just slightly brush the fingertips against each other, just these in the inside here. That way they stay close to each other and they hit the target. Okay, I want to give you an alternative to picado, because sometimes doing these fast picado runs and lines, it's a little stressful when you know it's coming up and it's fast, and am I going to be able to pull it off? Well, sometimes, just recently, I've discovered a new technique. It's kind of like using a pick, but instead of using a pick, I just put my index against my thumb and okay, or like I do, I like to put my pinky down as an anchor. Okay, and it's just that easy. For me, it's a little bit easier than doing picado now, and it seems to make a little bit more sense for my body. Let's go on to technique number 2, which is tremolo. Okay, there's 2 kinds of tremolo that I want to show you. First is classical tremolo. Okay, we'll start with the E minor. We're just going to use the low E for the bass with the thumb, and the high E for, it's going to start ring, middle, index. So, a succession of 4 notes: bass, ring, middle, index, bass. You want each note to sound the same, so using a metronome is really good for timing as well. So let's try alternating the bass strings. Okay, and now for something a little bit more difficult, we're going to keep droning the thumb on the low E, and we're going to alternate these high strings from the high E, the B, and the G, and back up. So. Okay, challenge yourself by using the flamenco tremolo, and that is a 5-stroke, which I'm just about to show you right now. We want to do the exact same thing as before, except for we're going to add a note. We're going to add an extra index. So we're going to start bass with the thumb, then index, then ring, middle, index. So. So it's a 5-stroke. Here's the difference. Classical. 5-stroke flamenco. All right, now let's do the same thing. Alternate the bass notes. Okay, now let's alternate the strings. And that's flamenco tremolo and classical tremolo. So definitely good to practice both those. Number 3, a metro. All right, this is arpeggios. Arpeggios is just a succession of notes that are within a chord. So I like to call this an ascending arpeggio. It goes from low to high. So I place my fingers, thumb on the low E string, index on the G, middle on the B, ring on the high E, and I just go from low to high. I just bring these fingers closer into my palm. I don't make some big pluck or strike, just. So, that's my ascending arpeggio. Let's try it with the alternating bass notes. Okay. Now let's try it by moving the position of these 3 fingers down a string, and then down a string again, and then back up, and then back up, with droning on the E. Here we go. Okay, so that's ascending arpeggio. Let's try a descending arpeggio. We're still going to start with the thumb on the bass low E string, and then we're going to start high using our ring first, ring, middle, index. So we put our fingers on the strings first, and then let's try it with alternating bass notes. Okay, now let's try alternating the positions where our fingers are. And okay, now I get into what a couple things that I'd like to call super arpeggios. Basically, there's nothing super or secret about it. It's just ascending and descending, rolling up and back down. So, okay. So I can do that the same with alternating bass notes. Thumb, index, middle, ring, middle, index. That's how we do it. Now let's try that and alternate the positions of our fingers on different strings. We'll start high. Okay, always practice this with a metronome, as I've said before. All right, let's try another super arpeggio. This one does a ascending to descending. Okay, down there. And then we hit the bass note again, and then we switch our position up and but then we just keep descending. Ring, middle, index, switch position up again, ring, middle, index, switch down again, ring, middle, index, switch position back to here, ring, middle, index, and bass. So, bass, ascend, descend, switch, descend, switch, descend, switch, descend, switch, descend, thumb. Sounds like this. And they're super because when played fast, it's pretty cool. All right, there's one more arpeggio that I want to show you, something that I use a lot. I don't see really any flamenco guitar players using it, and not too many classical guys. It's the sweep arpeggio. I definitely stole it from the electric guitar guys, the shredder guys, but basically it's going through the whole chord, sweeping up and down. I'm going to use an A minor to make this the most simple. So what I do is I start on the A string. I have my fingers locked in position as we had before. I hit open A with the thumb, hammer on C, hammer on E, and then the rest is just this middle finger on the 5th fret, rolling up, thumb, index, middle, ring, slip that ring down to the next one, slip it down, slip it down, slip it down, ring, and then middle to the C, and then index to the open. Okay, really slow. So that's A minor. We can also do it in E minor. Let's try that. Different pattern. Start with the thumb and on the A string, 7th fret, E note. And we hammer on to the G, okay? And then it is thumb here on the B, index, middle, ring, up to the 12th, middle, pull off, slip finger, middle, slip finger, middle, middle, to the G, and then index on the E, and you can even strike the low E if you like. Okay. All right, so that's arpeggios. Technique that I want to show you, which is alzapua. Now alzapua is done with just the thumb only, so it's either triplets or quadruplets. Triplets sound like, okay, quadruplets sound like, all right, what am I doing exactly? Basically, let's just use these two strings right here, just open. With the thumb, it is down, down, up. That's a triplet. Down, down, up, down, down. Now, if I wanted to make it a quadruplet, then I have to add in legatos, hammer-ons, and pull-offs. So I'll hammer on to an F. The technique. All right, there's all kinds of different patterns, and I only have a few parts in my arrangements that I use the alzapua, but it is a really cool technique to use. Now, if you're just not getting that, this is a difficult one. It's similar to picado in its difficulty. So I have an alternative for that one as well. And that alternative is to use thumb and these two fingers. For the quadruplet. Triplets. Okay. Let's go on. Number 5. Rasgueados, or for short, rasqueo. Okay, those are these things. Okay, the first one I want to show you is we call it the abanico, which means fan in Spanish. When the dancer puts out a fan and it goes rap. That's kind of what we do. So the traditional way, we'll just grab an E minor here. You kind of make a ball with your fist and you fire out with the pinky, ring, middle, index. It's a quadruplet. Okay, it's gonna take some time. Don't worry about it. Keep practicing and use a metronome. The way you want to do it with the timing is you want to have that last note of the rasgueado fall on the accent, fall on the beat. So if I said 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4. Okay? Now, these rasgueados, I will admit I don't do that great. I learned mine doing it backwards, or the one Serrano way. So I start with my index to the pinky. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So same principle. Make a little bit of a fist. Fire out the index, middle, ring, pinky. Now you can always add an extra note and make it a quintuplet, fifth note, if you will, by just finishing the move and pulling back on the index finger. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now there's another rolling quadruplet that I can use with this technique, which is basically, it's hard to do it slow, but at speed, okay. Let's go on to the next type of rasgueado, which is the marote rasgueado. Now that is this really cool way of doing a triplet or a quadruplet. I was taught to always start it as a quadruplet, and what it is now slowly when I break that down, it's up with the thumb, and we want to think about twisting our wrist here. Up with the thumb, down with the fingers, usually just my middle finger, and down with the thumb. And then one last stroke, up with the thumb again. And then I choke it off with the pinky here. So. Okay. Always start with the upstroke with the thumb. Always end with an upstroke with the thumb. That's the key. Even when I'm rolling, I do the same thing. Now to roll, all it is a continuous triplet. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down, down, up, down. Thumb, finger, thumb, thumb, finger, thumb, thumb, finger, thumb, thumb, finger, thumb. Okay? And the real key here is all you have to do is when you start getting a good speed going, you just twist your wrist and your thumb and middle finger will hit the strings. And I realized that my index starts to straighten out, and it becomes the axis to turn. And my pinky actually comes out a little bit and becomes a counterweight to my thumb. So if I'm going slow, that doesn't really happen. And as I speed up, you can see how that works. Okay, so those are the rasgueados. I'm going to show you a few different strumming techniques in common time, in 4/4 time. And these are rumba, we call them rumba and it's a strumming pattern that I rarely see done correctly. I think I learned it correctly, and I'm gonna learn you the way I do it. So it sounds like this. Okay, so you might have heard this done by various groups like the Gypsy Kings or other rumba flamenco groups, but it consists of 8 moves, and there's accents on the 1 and the 3 in the beats. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the first accent is a golpe along with striking. The 1 on the 3 is actually a hand slap, not a hard slap, just a little bit. Slaps the strings and contacts the wood just a little bit. You don't want to break your guitar. You don't want to beat on the thing. Okay, so I'm going to show you those 8 moves now. The first move is thumb down with the golpe. 1, E is up with the thumb, down with the fingers, up with the thumb again, slap, and then up with the index, down with the index, and up with the index. That's it. So really slow. And again. 2 more times. Golpe, up, down, up, slap, up, down, up, golpe. 1, 2. Okay, so I lost track. Going this slow makes it a little difficult. At speed. At the rumba speed, sometimes they go quite fast. Now if you notice, as I'm going faster, my range of motion gets smaller and smaller. And there's more twisting of the wrist because I don't need to bang on the thing. And as I go faster, I need to use that economy of motion. Okay, so let's go to the next type of strum. It's actually the exact same thing, but instead of a slap, we're going to use what I call a chuck, which is more of a snare drum sound, and it's just the fingers going across and deadening at the same time. So, same thing. Difference is after the chuck, my thumb is down here, so I can't really go to finish out the measure. I go up with the thumb, up, down, up. So from that point, I'm just going to start from the beginning of the measure and go really slow. So golpe, down, up, down, up, chuck, up with the thumb, down, up. Again. Okay, now let's do something that the Gypsy Kings love to do, which is they put the chuck on the 4 instead of the 3. So instead of going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, we're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's pretty much the same thing we're doing, but instead of doing a slap or the chuck, we let that chord ring out as a rest. And then instead of to finish out the measure, we go. So pretty easy. All right. By the way, if any of this stuff is going a little too fast, feel free to pause and rewind and watch again. But also, in YouTube, we have this nice luxury. There's a gear icon down there, and you can slow this video down to 75% or even 50% without changing the pitch of the audio. So I suggest on the stuff that you need slowed down to practice to, please check it out at 75 or 50%. And let's go on to the next video. All right, hello everybody. This is about nail care, and I'm going to show you how I do it. So, first thing we're going to need is set down some paper. We have right here, and I use these products: 5-second nail glue. It's kind of like super glue right here, and 5-second nail glue acrylic powder. Okay, I set up the paper because I don't want to ruin the table that I'm at. Many times I've taken this little pin out and I've got glue all over my computer, so it's best not to do it near your computer. Then I've got these two files right here. This has got 4 surfaces and this has got 2 surfaces. Now, before we get into anything like that, let's just take a look at where I like to have my nails as far as length. If I'm looking at it from the palm of my hand, you can see that there's just a little bit of nail that's coming up there. And on the index, we got a little bit more than anybody else. And I got kind of a longer thumbnail here. All right, let's apply the glue and acrylic powder here. Now, if I have a nice naked nail here, I don't have anything on it, and I've already, shaped it to just about where I like to have the shape, which is for my index. It's a little bit longer than my middle, because obviously the middle finger is longer than my index finger. So I give this one a little extra length with a little extra nail. The first thing I do is I score it a little bit. I take the roughest side of my emery board here, and I just score, put some lines in that, so the glue has something to hang on to. And then I'll put a big drop on it, maybe 2, try and cover most of the area, especially the tip. And a little powder right away. Just sort of salt and pepper it on there. Alright, there's a reason it's called 5-second nail glue, because you just only have to wait for 5 seconds. And that's set. Then I will put another drop. And it pretty much will turn all that dry powder wet again. And then I'll powder it again until I don't see it too wet. See, it got really thick already. Okay, just knock it down, knock some of the excess off. Okay, so that'll be dry in 5 seconds. A lot of people, they don't like to go all the way to the cuticle. They only go halfway, which is fine. You don't want to ruin your cuticle or anything, whatever. But as you can see, if you go halfway, it'll end up having a lip, just like over here. And it's going to catch on strings. So just be aware of that. You're going to always have that lip, and you're going to constantly be having to fill that in. So now we've got this. I'm just going to brush off the excess powder crap there. Take the roughest part of my board and file that as smooth as I can. Try not to file down the length too much. Alright, then I turn the board over and it's a little bit nicer. I guess this is 100 course and 180 course. So that one's a little bit nicer now. Okay, so it's definitely not quite as coarse as it was. I'm going to do one more coating of glue. Alright? One more big drop. And just get that entire sucker. Alright? Now this one, I'm not going to apply any of the powder. Alright, I'm just going to let that dry. Maybe I'll blow on it. So this guy's pretty much done. Now all you need to do is take that finer thing just to do the edge. Okay? Once it's dry, completely dry. Let's see. Almost completely dry. Then these are 4 stages on this one. This is coarse, finer, finest, and then this is like a buffing, shine, shimmer, whatever. I don't know. I do get these supplies at a beauty store, so that's always fun. Walking into a beauty store, but I'll tell you, it's a little bit cooler than going into a nail salon and sitting there with your nails out to have your nails did. So I just prefer to do it myself, honestly. So to finish this up, so it's gonna play really nice. I like my nails like hard glass. Okay, so do this to every nail on my right hand, and a little bit finer, except for the pinky. Most people grow their pinkies long and and put glue on their pinkies. Since my rasqueado technique is sort of backwards, my abanico fan rasqueado, for some reason I don't need to have a long pinky. And for some reason the pinky sounds nice and loud without putting any glue on it, or even really short. You see how short it is? And for me, that's all I need. So really, I only need to do these 4 fingers. So now this finger is done, and yeah, it doesn't look pretty, but it feels like hardened glass, super smooth, and perfect for striking the guitar. So that's how I do my nails. You're gonna have to find the right shapes and lengths for your own nails, and the only way to do that is experimentation. If you look at mine, they're not super long, they're not super short. Thumb is a little bit longer, index is a little bit longer. The middle and ring fingernails are not that long, just enough that you can see them when you hold your hand flat, just kissing over the edge there. And I've got nothing on my pinky, pretty much, hardly anything. And that's how I do my nails. Let's talk about after you've done your nails. After about a week or 2, they might end up looking like this. Alright, so that is not good. That's going to catch on a string and stop you in mid-rasqueado. So usually after about a week or 2, if I see it looking like this, I'll give it a little fill, and that'll give me another week or so of glue on my playing nails. So I just put this drop or so right there in the crack, and I just let it heal, or let it dry. I'll blow on it a little bit. First thing you're gonna need, 1 guitar with dead strings. Second thing you're gonna need, guitar strings. Today I'll be using the Ben Wood signature set flamenco guitar strings by Daniel Mari Strings. You can use whichever strings you prefer. Third thing that you're gonna need, well, you won't need it, but I like to use these, the string winders. It also has a string cutter down here, but you don't need this. You can always wind with your fingers. All right, I want to show you the way these strings are tied to the tie block is a very traditional way of tying them down here on the bridge, and I'm going to show you this as well as an alternative way. So let's take a couple strings off. You don't want to just clip them off. I don't recommend that. So I'm just gonna unwind, and from down here, take that off, untie. Okay, there goes one. You know what? I'm gonna take a treble string off too, just so I can show you.
They get tied just slightly differently, so let's just take the B string off. Of course, fast motion is fine. I can use the fast motion, it'll be fun. Alright.
Going to take my low E string here, with a lot of these strings, you'll see that one section at the very end, the winding gets looser. That usually some people like to tie it extra underneath the other strings down here and stuff. That's a bunch of crap for me. I don't even bother with that. I put this loose wind little end. I put it on this end. I put it way over there. But before I put it over in the machine heads, I'm gonna first take this nice clean spot, put it through the hole. This comes out. I'm gonna put it around, make a loop, just like that, and then put this in the loop. Make sure you put it on this back side of the tie block, this side, and not on top. Okay? And then I have this little loop here, and I just put my thumb over it. And then I pull with my left hand. And as you pull, it gets tighter and tighter, and it ends up looking like that. Now that's a perfectly tied, traditional way of tying a bass string, one of these three basses. These trebles, as you can see, have a few little winds in them, so I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Let's go over here to the machine heads, and I'll show you how I like to put these in. I do it a little bit differently. The way I do it gives a lot of slack. That way, if it breaks and you don't have another one, there's a chance you can still use the same string with this extra slack. So you put it in, and then you see how it's like this. I just make one. It's not really a knot. I just put it over and under. Then down here at the hole, it makes a knot. Can I get it? If you can see what I'm doing here. And then it starts to tighten. All the while pulling with pressure on it. And that will bring this knot over there in front of the hole. And all it needs is a few winds. And you have all the slack in case you break a string and you don't have any extra with you that you can use. Now, see, it's almost in tune. One more thing, after you put on a new string, I like to stretch it out first, especially with these nylon strings. So I put my thumb down here and I just pull up and keep this side of the string down with the end of my hand. So I pull up with my index finger to keep the other side of the string down. That way I'm not putting any extra stress on the bridge or the saddle or anything. So I go through and I stretch it like this. I might have to do that 2 or 3 times before it stays in tune. Usually the first day with new strings, it doesn't stay in tune very well. Okay, so that's that one. Let's come back over here to the bridge and let's work on the B string. Okay, these strings are a lot thinner, obviously the nylon strings, but we're gonna use the same principle. We're gonna put it in the hole here. It's gonna come around, we put it this way, bring it around, but instead of just bringing it around and putting it in like before, we're gonna make this little loop and we're gonna go above and under. 1 twist and above and under. 2 twists. Okay? And then I'm gonna take the end of it and put it back down at the end of the tie block, and with my left hand I'm gonna pull. And then pull with my right hand a little bit, and it cinches up really nicely. Now that was just 2 twists around. Sometimes with this high E string, you can do 3 twists, but 2 twists should do it for all of these. Alright, so then that is the B string. The machine head is pretty much the same process as before.
And then we're going to bring it under. And then pull it tight, back down by the hole, get my string winder, or just wind with your fingers. And give it a couple winds, all the while pulling with my right hand. And now that it's cinched up there, tight against the spool, it just requires a couple more. And then we're pretty close. Almost for this, you want to do the same thing, and you want to stretch the strings out. Be careful not to bend too hard. You just need to pull up an inch or so. Okay.
Now, do that for every string, and you have a brand new restring guitar. But I want to show you an alternative, like I was talking before. So let's do the low A string. We're gonna do this one. I want to show you an alternative way to tie this to the tie block.
To actually get what I believe is a louder sound with more projection. And if you look at this diagram, I'm going to show you what I mean. I'm going to tie a ball end to the back here. Now on the diagram, you see this is the traditional way, the way we just did it. And you can see that this way the string is coming through, we're actually having less of a break angle. And with this ball end way, we can get a sharper break angle, which means more pressure pushing on top of the saddle, which means more volume coming out of the guitar. Okay, let's go back to the guitar. Let's see. We've got our B string, we have our A string, fifth string, and we're going to do a ball end. Now, these strings don't have a ball end on them yet. However, I'm working on a signature set that will have ball ends on all of them, which will make restringing the guitar quite a bit easier and faster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it through here first.
And then I'm just going to tie ball end. I'm going to make one tie in here. Okay? And we'll pull it just a little bit. And there's my ball end. And it's as easy as that. And then I take the rest and we do the same. Now, obviously with this, you might want to cut it off a little bit. And there we go, there's our ball end. Now on these treble strings, you might have to tie 2, even 3 knots to make a slightly larger ball, slightly larger knot so it doesn't slip through. But you will get more pressure coming straight down with a sharper break angle than with this one. It's actually, you can see the string coming around and pulling the angle up. And that's how to restring your guitar.